All right, welcome back to Monday Musings, a casual conversation about culture and theology. I'm Justin Ely.
And I'm Daniel Chen, and we're just a couple dudes talking about some stuff. So,
as always, we have to start with our premiere segment, the Life Hack segment, brought to you by Daniel Chen.
Yeah, so those of you who like this segment but not our other segment, I guess you can stop listening after.
Right, I mean, just a few minutes.
Maybe we should do this at the end.
Maybe, to tease it out. Or in the middle, so they don't even know when it's coming.
Yeah, so my life hack of today is that did you know that Netflix shows different shows and movies depending on what country you live in?
Wow.
And so if you get a VPN, which is a virtual private network, so something about me, I'm super paranoid about getting my information stolen.
You are very secure.
I am. Yeah. Two-factor authentication on everything.
Yeah. What happened to that family with the Ring device in their daughter's room would never happen to you.
It would not, because the Ring device thing. If you've read about this, they didn't get hacked. Their information got stolen from like Yahoo or something.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing Yahoo. I don't know if it's Yahoo. I'm just throwing that as an example. And so they just, these people who steal the information just try that username password combination just across all the sites and see if they can get in.
Right.
And that's how they got in. That's why you always two-factor authenticate. But if you get a VPN, which basically masks your IP and makes you untraceable on the internet, basically, you can change which country your IP is like pinging your computer from.
Oh.
And so if you get a VPN, you can watch Netflix from anywhere in the world, basically.
And you'd have different shows.
Different shows, different movies. So it's pretty interesting.
It's a good life hack.
It is, yeah, for you Netflix lovers out there.
Wow. So for those of you who are just tuning in for the life hack, you can stop listening now, I guess. Or for everyone else, you can continue to listen because today we're talking about Christmas and the history of it and how to keep Christ at the center of your Christmas traditions. So, Daniel, I think we could both agree that Christmas kind of traces back to Jesus' birth, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of what the celebration is about.
Right.
Although, what we commonly know as Christmas today and the kind of celebration on December 25th around it wouldn't trace all the way back to biblical times.
Right.
So it seems like you have a few things going on as far as our concept of Christmas in December, in winter. The middle of winter has been a celebration for like Europeans for a long time who would celebrate the winter solstice when the worst of the winter was behind them. And they could look forward to the days of extended sunlight. Our kind of idea of Christmas festival probably goes back to the Roman celebration of Saturnalia. Am I saying that right?
I think so.
I mean, say with confidence, right?
Yeah. I've never been a Roman, so...
Yeah. When in Rome. But yeah, it goes back to the celebration of Saturnalia, which was a holiday in honor of Saturn, who was the god of agriculture. And it began the week leading up to the winter solstice, and it continued for a full month. And this was a very unholy time, I guess you could say. History.com listed as a, quote, hedonistic time when food and drink were plentiful and the normal Roman social order was turned upside down. So I think Saturnalia was very much like Mardi Gras for like a month.
Yeah.
And around this time, the Romans also celebrated Juvenalia, a feast honoring the children in Rome. And there was another celebration of one of the gods on December 25th. So it seems like what happened is the Catholic Church came in. Pope Julius I chose to celebrate Christmas on December 25th, probably to kind of push out the Saturnalia festival and the like pagan festivals that were associated with that. And he started what's called the Feast of the Nativity. And by 432, it had spread to Egypt. and to England by the end of the 6th century. And then by the end of the 8th century, the celebration had reached Scandinavia. Interesting fact, in Greek and Russian Orthodox churches, Christmas is celebrated 13 to 14 days after the 25th. And it's because we had different calendars, right? Western uses the Gregorian calendar. Eastern churches uses the Julian calendar. So if you have any, friends that celebrate on the other day, now you know why.
I don't.
Neither do I, but I've heard of them.
Yeah. Who are the crazy people that use the Julian calendar at this
I don't know, amateurs,
Yeah, but I guess it makes sense. Like, a lot of cultures used to use the lunar calendar, so
Yeah.
I don't know what the Julian calendar is, but
It is interesting, though, the celebration of Christmas in America, a little different. I mean, but you had America largely being founded, by Puritans,
Right.
who were not about, they thought the exact birth date of Jesus is not given in the Bible, and so this they thought was kind of a little too much of a pagan festival with all the background.
right,
So there wasn't that celebration, in the beginning of the history. And it wasn't really until the 19th century that Americans really began to embrace Christmas and reinvented it from what had become, even though the church had taken over it, it still kind of held that Mardi Gras type of flavor, very sinful party kind of festival, to 19th century kind of more family oriented
right.
to what it is today.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like the history of all this stuff, if you're wondering why we do the history of this, is because I think it's easy for us to just assume things have been how they always have
The
been.
way they always, yeah.
And it's easy to, as much as open-minded or whatever we want to be, we always take our own experiences and our own thoughts, and we always project that into the past or into the future, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I've even heard a lot oh, Christians just steal all these holidays and all this stuff, but it's the Christmas as we know it wasn't it hasn't been like this for 1,500 years.
George
2,000
Washington
years.
didn't celebrate Christmas the way that we do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And in fact, Alabama was the first state to officially recognize Christmas, and that was in 1836. And Oklahoma was the last in 1907.
Oh, man.
It's been an official federal holiday since June 26, 1870.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the scope of
150
things,
years.
that's not very long.
Yeah.
A few interesting kind of facts. For those of you like me that can get kind of testy when people say happy holidays, that can really tick me off when people do that. Because I'm I will happily look at my Jewish friend and say, Happy Hanukkah.
Right.
Don't give me this happy holiday stuff. Merry Christmas.
Right.
But people like me that are kind of mad about everything in life often say that Xmas is trying to push Jesus out of Christmas.
Right.
It's actually not. The X is, the abbreviation for Chi in Greek for Christ.
Right.
So don't use that one.
Yeah, and I remember in 7th grade, my social studies teacher told us that Xmas was just trying to X Christ out of Christmas.
Right. They just
And
needed to learn Greek.
I carried that with me for 15 years until I went to seminary and someone brought that up.
Someone had to correct you.
Yeah. And so if you're listening, you have been corrected.
Another interesting thing, Martin Luther, the great Protestant reformer, is probably the first person that decorated Christmas tree with lights. He was walking home one winter to his house. He was composing a sermon, and he was overwhelmed by the beauty of the stars twinkling with the evergreen trees. And he wanted to recapture that scene for his family. So he put a tree in his room and put light candles, which, it's I guess he would have been putting actual candles in his tree.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
So that's
But
pretty dangerous.
If you do go to Costco and get one of those fake trees with the lights already attached to them, I think there's a trademark by Martin Luther on that.
Really?
No. That'd be crazy.
Can't believe I just fell for that. It's so embarrassing. If we had an editing crew, I would ask them to edit it out. But I'm the editing crew, so I guess I could just edit it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to be, if you're out there listening, you want to be our podcast intern.
Yeah, we pay nothing. In fact, you should pay us. This is such a successful podcast. Let's see. Oh, other thing. This one bothers some people. Jesus was probably not born in a stable like we think of it.
Huh.
So I've heard different things on this. When we hear there was no room for them in the inn, a lot of us think about like a hotel, like the Bethlehem Hotel, you know.
Right.
But a lot of some commentaries I've read have said that the inn was probably referencing like the spare room that one of their relatives would have had, because they were going back to where they were from, so they would have relatives there.
Right.
They wouldn't have stayed in some like hotel. It would have been with a relative. So a lot of people would say the inn was probably like the spare room of a family member. And so a lot would say he was probably born in like a cave or a shelter built into a hillside.
Huh.
So a little different than like the barn kind of thing we think of. So there's a little history of Christmas. Also wanted to kind of share some ideas about ways to keep Christ at the center of your Christmas.
Right. And this is important because, once again, the reason we went over the history and why we're talking to lead up to this next conversation we're about to have is because if you're wondering, Jesus was probably not born in the winter, right?
Yeah, people say probably spring.
Yeah,
is what I've heard a lot.
Spring, early summer, something like that. But the reason that Christmas was brought back, especially here in America, was to celebrate Christ.
Right.
And so though it's, we're celebrating, quote unquote, Jesus' birthday or whatever.
Right.
Really, it's just a celebration of Christ.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why it exists in our churches, is because
and specifically the wonder of the incarnation, right?
Yes.
That Christ has come to dwell among us.
Yes.
Emmanuel, God with us.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think it could just be easy to get lost even in the history, or get lost in the lights and the celebration and stuff.
Yeah.
But to remember, the December 25th is just a day.
Right.
But we're here to celebrate the incarnation. We're here to celebrate Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yep. And I think this is something we kind of talk a lot about on the podcast, is like, this is happening in the culture anyway. So why not leverage what's happening in the culture for gospel opportunities with your neighbors, with your kids? So I think what we want to do is like, Christmas is coming. It's going to happen. Whether or not that is a worshipful time for your family or not is up to you, in the kind of traditions that you celebrate and include in the Christmas season.
right.
So I've got a list of 8 things that families can do. So maybe we'll just start going down each of these and then comment on them. This is in no random order. Hillary heard this from a friend. Have you heard the Elf on a Shelf thing?
I have.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I don't know how that got started. I remember all the memes last year.
Yeah.
And then there's all the other memes with rhyming the 2 words that are like, yeah.
So Elf on a Shelf, like, even if I had like no like spiritual objections, I have a practical objection to that. Do you know how much work that is to like recreate that every night? So, but what she found is something called...
Explain it real quick.
Okay, so Elf on a Shelf, from my understanding, is you essentially have this elf that like gets into like mischief in the days leading up to Christmas, and so the kids wake up and they have to like go find the elf, and maybe he like got into the cookie jar and there's like cookies all over the floor, or maybe he like spilled the coffee and there's like coffee on, like there's like different things the elf does so that the kids have to get up and find the elf, is my understanding.
I bet Hallmark came up with it.
Man, Hallmark.
Hallmark, man.
This podcast is not brought to you by Hallmark. But what she found was something called Star from Afar instead of Elf on a Shelf.
Huh.
And so the Star from Afar, basically you have like a little, I think it's something you can buy. You have a little manger scene, but you hide the wise men each day, and the kids have to go find the wise men in the house.
Yeah.
And it gives you opportunity to talk about how the wise men followed the star to travel to meet Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's a nice replacement of
Yeah.
Elf on a Shelf.
I wonder if you could trick your kids into like doing chores by doing it like it's
Yeah.
somewhere, but you gotta clean
You
your
gotta
room to find
vacuum,
it.
yeah.
You got to vacuum. Maybe it's
Yeah.
under the carpet. You gotta vacuum to find
you'll
it.
find the wise men by dusting the whole house. Parents, you're welcome. So second thing, using an advent calendar that's not just like today's the Rudolph chocolate, but like scriptural advent calendar,
Yeah.
where it's kind of taking you through preparation for Christmas, or even, and I meant to do this year, but I missed the beginning of it. If you Advent is the season of the church season, the 4 Sundays before Easter, and like at our church, we're lighting Advent candle each week to remind us of the anticipation for Christmas. You can actually buy an Advent wreath for your family, and each night you light a candle waiting for Christmas. So like the first week of Advent is that first Sunday, all the way till the next Sunday. So you would light the first candle every single night. You could do it after dinner. You could do a scripture reading or a devotion about Advent and kind of have that as the centerpiece of your home.
Right.
So that's an option. The third one, Katie Paget gave us this idea. They teach their kids Christmas hymns each year, different like historical hymns, and they sing them together.
That's cool.
I think that's nice. I was telling you and Willie this morning, we had Hannah in the service Sunday, but she was a little sick, so we didn't want to put her in kids. And we sang O Come, Emmanuel.
That's so great.
And, the line, rejoice, rejoice. So we tried to put her down for a nap, and she kept saying, rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. That's the only word of the song she knew, but she sang it she didn't nap. She just sang, O Come, Emmanuel.
That's amazing.
So, parenting win right there.
Yeah.
Not to brag, but clearly I'm just doing a great job by doing nothing. It was Hillary's idea to bring her in the service. I think singing is stuff that it's like a good thing to do as a family.
Yeah, definitely.
Christmas hymns are great to sing. Here's 2 Santa ones. If you embrace Santa, the tradition at your home, just get rid of the naughty or nice thing. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether or not you do Santa, that's up to your conviction. But if you do Santa, just don't do the naughty. Like that teaches like moralism.
Right.
Like if
legalism.
Yeah, moralism and legalism, and get rid of the he's watching you when you're sleeping. That's just creepy. Don't do that to your kid.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to do it,
Santa's got a bunch of Ring cameras everywhere.
right? Yes.
Yeah.
This is so weird. But I think like if you're doing gifts, emphasize like the historical Saint Nick, who gave gifts to kids because he loved Jesus and served Jesus. And he gives us a great example of what it means to give without thinking of getting a reward, but because you love Jesus. And so that's why Santa gives gifts, not because you're naughty or nice.
Right.
That's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool way that you could teach grace.
Absolutely.
Is, despite the things you did bad this year, here are these gifts.
Yes,
because God
absolutely.
loves you.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Here's another one about Santa. So we spent a lot of the podcast last time talking about Santa and whether or not you should do it as a family, and if so, how. Hillary found this, which was an amazing way to tell your kids about Santa if you choose to have that tradition as a part of your home. So the article that she found was you you wait until, so you kind of embrace the story, you tell it as a story, but like we said last week, for a young kid, they think Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse are real. And you're not like telling your kid who's like pre-K, hey, just to make sure, I want you to know Minnie Mouse is not real. You know that, right? Like, parents don't do that.
Right.
So, like, you're treating it like Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse. You're treating it like a story. You wait until you notice that they're starting to kind of poke some holes in it. They're starting to kind of ask some questions. And this is where you can, I think, embrace the both, like, tell the myth but don't tell a lie. So you wait until that's starting to happen with them. You take them out for, like, a dinner or breakfast or something, and you start by telling them, like, how much you've noticed them grow in the past year. And you give them different examples. I've seen you grow in your compassion, how you are kind to other people in your, Sunday school class or whatever it is. And then you tell them, because you've grown up so much in this past year, you're ready to be let in on the secret. I think you are ready to become a Santa. And then you say, St. Nicholas was a real person who loved Jesus and gave gifts to kids. And because he gives us such a good example of how to follow Jesus, people have been pretending to be Santa since the time of St. Nicholas. And now, because of your growth and your compassion, how you're growing up next year, you're ready to become a Santa too. And what it means to be a Santa is to give gifts to other people and not expect anything in return. And so now it's your time. So who do you want to be a Santa for this year? Who do you want to give a secret gift to? That way you kind of are like, you're teaching at an appropriate age the difference between fact and fiction, but you're inviting them into the story to be like a participant in it. And you're teaching them the value of giving without an expectation in return. So one way you can do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then you can also just tell them that they're paying for all the gifts for the family from now on.
Yeah.
So you don't.
Part of what it means to also be a Santa is to pay for the gifts. So you're going to need to do that for us.
By the way, don't do that.
So that was number 5. Number 6, some people made Jesus a birthday cake.
Yeah.
Sing happy birthday. You could do that.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I probably won't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not his birthday, actually.
Right. I think to me it's more about the incarnation, right? Than it is about a birth.
Yeah.
Right. So
I probably, but some people really get into it.
Yeah.
And kids like birthday cakes.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. Yeah. I've never done it, actually. I've never sang
happy birthday to Jesus.
Yeah.
Some people do it in their Christmas Eve services.
Yeah. I have seen it if you can't find like wrapping paper, you can just get happy birthday wrapping paper and then write
Genius.
Jesus on it. Yeah. I have seen that.
Yeah.
So.
Genius. Another one, I just got this morning from on Facebook. Abby Tillman recommended this to me. It's called the Jesse tree. Have you ever heard of this?
I feel like I have, but I have no idea what it is.
Well, the website I'm on is from the Reformed Church in America. So with your Presbyterian roots, maybe you have heard. But if you look up the Jesse tree, apparently it's a tradition of preparing for Advent by journeying through the stories on Jesus's family tree. And so each day as a family, you read a Bible story about someone in Jesus's family, like his lineage, and you hang up an ornament. They have like ornaments that you can print out and you like color them representing that person. And it comes from Isaiah 11:1, a shoot shall come out from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, Jesse being the father of King David.
Right.
And so you're going through like all the Old Testament figures that were like ancestors of Jesus. You're coloring an ornament. You're putting it up on like a little tree. to like teach your kids like the background of like how it took a long time for Jesus to come.
Huh.
It seemed pretty cool to me.
Yeah. Man, how do people come up with this stuff?
People are so creative.
I know.
Yeah. I think you could emphasize if you're putting up your tree, like, why do we put lights on a Christmas tree? Don't tell them because Martin Luther wanted to. It's not as good. Well, I think you could go to John 8 and say, the light of the world was hung on a tree for us. And
Yeah.
so at Christmas, the light of the world came. And then on Good Friday, he was hung on a tree so that we could be set free.
Yeah.
I think even as you're like setting up your Christmas tree, you could emphasize that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Want to talk about materialism. How bad of a problem do you think materialism is at Christmas?
Real bad. Yeah. But I think I got a couple, by the way, of
Oh, you got a couple?
yeah.
Do you want me to do this materialism thing first? Or
I don't
do you
know.
want to just jump in?
It's up to you. I just
This is
didn't-
my last one.
Wait, what do you mean?
This is my last piece of advice on my list.
Oh, I thought you were transitioning the conversation.
Oh, no, I got one more.
Oh, gotcha. All
It's
right,
about
let's-
materialism.
All right,
though.
let's talk about materials.
Yeah, I actually, it's fair because I said there were 8 things, but this is the 9th. It's not that I counted wrong because I went to Georgia. It's that I actually just added this because I forgot about it. So materialism is a really tough thing. I think as parents, it's like easy to, it almost can become a selfish thing to like go crazy for your kids because you get to watch them just have this amazing experience.
Right.
But like that's not good for their soul
Yeah.
in the long run. So Jan Forrester sent me this, and this is something one of Hillary's friends does. They have this 4-gift rule at Christmas, and it rhymes, so that's nice. You get something you want, something you need, something to wear, and something to read.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, and maybe for those that do Santa, some people say that those are the 4 from Santa, or Santa brings like one other thing. But I think like want, need, wear, read, and then you get some stuff in stockings. It keeps it like simple. They know that they're getting those 4 things. You're promoting reading, which is a good thing. And you're not going crazy. So I think like finding ways in our Christmas traditions to like celebrate the incarnation, not going into debt because you went crazy on gift giving. That's a neat way to do it. So those are my 9.
No, those are great. And I only got a couple, so I'll just kind of tack on.
Go for it.
And even to go along with the materialism thing, I think thinking about how do you keep Christ in Christmas? Well, I think the materialism has kind of made Christmas about your kids.
Yeah.
And so don't get me wrong, your kids are great, and
Yeah.
your kids are a blessing, and we should want to give them gifts and see
Sure.
them happy and make them happy. But you know, we've been talking about idols recently, but your kids can be an idol too.
Yes.
And so you can start to elevate your kids above Christ in Christmas, and what it produces is your kids coming downstairs demanding their gifts or demanding
Yeah.
you give them a certain thing, or it needs to be this expensive a gift, or it needs to be, it starts to become about them. But I think it's important. It's a good way to teach your kids that life isn't about them. They're
No.
not the center of this
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
And one way we do that is we don't act like they're the center
Right,
of our universes, right?
Yeah.
And so, and so I think part of it is, my wife is really great at this, but she is really great at just telling our kids, and really me too, that when things happen, even when like Meredith and I are giving them dinner, God is also the one providing that dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we could do that with our gifts as well, that these gifts are from mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, but they're also provided by God and
Yep.
by Jesus.
Yep.
And to even turn that conversation into a gospel conversation, that the best gift that God has given us is
Yep.
restoration,
Absolutely.
is redemption
Yep.
in Christ, right?
And I think, side note, kind of on that, something I'm actually working on is like trying to make my prayers at meals actually mean something.
Right.
It's easy to like just kind of thank you, amen.
Right.
But I mean, trying to think through, I've been like in trying to think through a wonderful spiritual reality from my like morning devotion to like thank God for in the prayer. And then also we thank you that you're our provider in all things, including physical provision.
Right.
Little ways like that to keep that as the forefront of our mind.
Yeah, 100%. And I think something else that I really want to push in this podcast is this idea that it's really easy to be people of extremes, right? Mm-hmm. And so I constantly think about being, especially a reformed person in our culture, it's easy to lean towards Gnosticism, where we start to separate out like
Yep.
worldly things are bad, only
Yes.
heavenly things are good.
Yes.
Spiritual, the
Yes.
spirit realm is good, the physical world is bad.
Yep.
And so I think even in this, podcast, we're not saying like throw out your old traditions,
Yeah.
and implement these new hyper spiritual traditions.
Yeah.
It's more like in anything else in our life, how can we take what we are already doing and just kind of inject
Yep.
Jesus into it, right?
Yep.
So it's like, if you guys make Christmas cookies this year, it's not throw out your cookies and only serve matzah, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I will be making Christmas cookies. And we make reindeer cookies that I've made since I was a kid, and I will continue that.
yeah. And so the question is, the solution is never throw out the reindeer cookies, but how does the reindeer cookies reflect the gospel, right? That's what we're trying to do as Christians.
You make them for your neighbors, and you include an invitation to the Christmas Eve service at Christ Fellowship Church, December 24th at 5 p.m.
Yeah. So
That's
guys
what you
should
do.
come. Yeah. And so, and I think, honestly, that's a problem that non-Christians have with Christians, and Christians sometimes tend to do, is to kind of like compartmentalize the world from Christianity, whereas we're supposed to be lights into the world,
Yeah.
not lights separated out from the world,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Speaking on the Gnosticism thing, I think when it comes to the holidays, see there I did it. I did the happy holidays myself. When it comes to Christmas,
but the holidays, the thing is, I always
It
thought
is.
I thought that was always referencing
it's like Thanksgiving,
New Year's.
New Year's, Christmas, so it's fair. But I'm just a Grinch about it. People tend to be either good at being generous toward like the poor, the church, like nonprofits. So some people on Christmas time are great about year-end giving.
Right.
They're great at an extra offering for Christmas Eve. Like we're taking up one for the Mully Children's Family.
Right.
I think a great thing you can do with your family is talk about giving time and giving money extra at
Right.
Christmas time. And then some people are really good at being generous toward their family and great gifts and stuff. I heard one guy, he often said that his dad always said generosity begins at home. But they're not good at giving outside of home. I think each can learn from each other at Christmas time.
Right.
If you're really good at giving to the church, but you're a Grinch at giving good gifts to your kids at Christmas, you should learn to be generous to your kids.
Right.
Like, it's a good thing to spoil them just because you love them, not going above and beyond, right? We're talking about being good stewards, but, like, there's a value in expressing generosity to your family. And if you're really good at being generous to your family, but you're really bad about being generous to the poor, to the church, like, Christmas is a good time to kind of reset, recalibrate,
Right.
and go, how can I be generous outside of these four walls to other people?
Right.
So, yeah, like you said, it's not, we tend to be extremes.
Right.
But,
For sure. And yeah, I think that's great advice. And even tagging along with that, I think one way we can keep Christ as at the center of Christmas is to be involved in nonprofits, and
Yeah.
our church just did the Operation Christmas Child.
Some of our members did that. Yeah.
Which I wish we were able to go to, but when my kids get older, I want to do stuff like that to show them,
Yeah.
like, because I grew up in upper middle class suburbia.
Yeah.
I honestly had no concept that people were richer than me or poorer than me. I just knew that what we had, right?
It's just what
And
it is.
so,
Yeah.
But I definitely didn't understand that some kids don't have gifts, or
Yeah.
some kids can only get like a hand-me-down jacket or something. And
Yes.
that's great, if that's
Yeah.
what their family could provide. But I just always assumed everyone got a lot of money and gifts, always, everywhere.
Yep.
And it's good to show like that's
Get out of your
and then
your zone.
and then going along with what you just said, it teaches people, our kids, to give and to love others as well.
yeah.
But something else that I think you sent out a Facebook message, and I saw that I think we're planning to do is to read the Christmas Story and the Jesus Storybook Bible.
Oh yeah, that was one I meant to mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so saw that you had a buddy think that were referencing him,
Yeah, sorry, Daniel White. I was referring to Daniel Chin.
but I was laughing because I was like, but you tagged me.
Right.
Why would he think that
Right.
you tagged him?
I don't know.
Like, you actually tagged me.
I don't know.
And so, but yeah, the Jesus Storybook Bible is what it is. It's
It's the best.
Bible written for children. And it's like clear in the gospel,
Yeah.
but it's written in like more children's language.
Yeah.
And it just is really worshipful to read
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I actually tell like newer Christians or like Christians that don't have a very good grasp about like the big story of the Bible.
Right.
Read the Jesus Storybook Bible.
Yeah.
That's a great way for you, even as an adult, to understand, like, I've heard some of these stories of the Bible, but I don't know the story of the Bible.
Right.
Read that. It's a kid's Bible, but it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think my last thing that I wanted to talk about was probably the best way to keep Christ in Christmas is to keep Christ in our lives the rest of the year apart from Christmas.
That's such a great point.
Because I think if we're not thinking about Jesus 11 months of the year, well, why would we think we're thinking about Jesus the 12th month of
Yep.
the year?
Yep.
And so I just think people tend to come out of the woodwork and say, oh, we need to go to church and do this stuff in December or whatever.
Right.
But if Jesus is that important, why not in January?
Yeah.
Why not in July and September? And, we shouldn't overemphasize Jesus in this time, because the amount we emphasize Jesus in this time should be the amount we emphasize Jesus always.
All the time.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I think if we could keep
really good
Christ
point.
in our lives throughout the year, then we'll have no trouble keeping
Yeah.
Christ in Christmas. And
Yeah.
so,
they've done studies on like what why kids who grew up in church either kind of exited church or stayed in church, and one of the factors for the kids that stayed in was that they saw their parents serve at church. Like that was a normal thing, right? So they didn't just pop in at Christmas.
Right.
Like there was a consistent, like, Sundays we go to church. That's what we worship as a family.
Right.
And we serve as well. And then I think, if I remember correctly, another one was like they saw you open the Bible yourself and like read and pray for your own devotional life, right? So like talking about keeping Christ center all year, like our kids should see us pray. Our kids should see us read our Bible. Our kids should go to church with us, talk about the sermon, and worship with them. If that's normal, I mean, that's amazing.
yeah.
You know?
And absolutely. And if you're listening out there and you're one of those people who only go to church on Christmas, it's no judgment to you, but I think even in doing this podcast, we wanted to communicate. We want the best for you, and the reason that we're Christians, the reason we believe in Jesus, the reason we believe we do this as our job is because we believe this is what's best for your life.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so it's more of just an invitation to say, if try keeping Jesus at the center of your life for a year. See if your life
what
won't-
happens. Yeah.
See if your life won't dramatically
Yeah.
change, because I believe it would.
Absolutely.
Like for the better.
Yeah.
And so it really is just an invitation to join us in it. And,
Yeah.
and even a push for us to continue to do that as well.
Good point. Good point. Well, thanks for listening today. Next week will be the last podcast of 2019. And I believe we will be talking about Star Wars.
Yes. And so I'm sure we'll have some gospel in there, but we're
Yeah.
going to talk a lot about Star
Yeah.
Wars. And are the prequels good? And are the current films, are they good?
Yeah. So I'm seeing the new movie this Friday,
Man.
3:15 at
Yeah.
Avalon. I bought the tickets the day they came out because that's who I am. I'm not hiding it anymore. And I'm really excited.
Well, it's funny because I don't actually think Star Wars is associated with being nerdy anymore. I think it's just such a cultural phenomenon.
yeah.
It's just a normal. And here's the
That's
thing.
good.
We understand that some people don't like Star Wars.
They're just wrong.
Yeah. What I want to say is, I can understand if you think you're better than Star Wars,
Yeah.
but you are not better than lightsabers.
That is true. That's a
So,
fact.
Yeah.
That's a
no one
fact.
is better than lightsabers.
Yeah. And kudos to Austin Burkhart yesterday, who during our church potluck was playing music, and he played Duel of the Fates from
man.
episode 1
Yes.
during our present unwrapping competition.
Yes.
And Willie Paget and I looked at each other, and we were like, Duel of the Fates, this is awesome.
Yes.
So, yeah. But so I've rewatched all 8 in the last 2 weeks, and Hillary has been a great wife to do it with me. So I'm like ready for. So I'll have plenty of commentary.
Yes.
Next Monday.
Awesome. I'm excited, and once again we'll start back up in January
Yeah.
with our normal scheduled topics. But
That's right.
this is a special event. So
Special.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us this morning, and we will talk to you next week.